So Tracy did a nice job creating these, they call them puzzle ball stuffed animals. Actually, they're not really stuffed much, but they're crocheted. And so Tracy made these for little baby David, for our first grandchild, our grandson. And I think she did a great job. So that leads us into the icebreaker question for today. What has somebody told you that you're really good at? What kind of feedback have you gotten? What has somebody told you that you do a great job at? Talk about that, and we'll get started with the Bible study when you're ready. So our car did great. It got us here. It was a champ. And not only that, we were really excited because we had a dresser and a bookshelf that we wanted to bring for baby David. And we had it at our home. They couldn't fit it into their cars to get it down here. And so we were hoping we could fit it in, and it did. And it made it into the car. Both of them did. And so we were really excited about that. But when we were getting things ready, one of the things we wanted to do is to get it all Cat in the Hat colored and so forth. These were bookshelf and dressers that our kids used, and so you might be able to see there's Amanda had painted some stars. You can kind of see them through the white paint on there. And so she wanted this repainted white and then red stripes and kind of do Cat in the Hat and so forth. And we just didn't get it done before we left. And so the dresser got done, but the bookshelf didn't make it all the way. Plus, it didn't cover, as you saw, the way we were expecting. So instead, we have cans of paint, and we got some work that we're going to be doing here to finish up the bookshelf for baby David and have that for them when they get home. So my question for you to talk about as you read the next section, this next section here, you're going to find that Paul and Silas and Timothy go to Thessalonica, and really Paul tries to do things the way he's done them up to this point in time. Go and talk at the synagogue and then go talk to the Greeks. And it just does not work out as expected. He ends up with some pretty angry opposition, especially from the Jewish folks. And it doesn't take that long, and they're run out of town. He's there 3 weeks in the synagogues talking. We don't know how long after that, and then he gets kicked out of town. So my question for you to talk about is just that. Have you ever had a situation where you try to do things the way you've always done them because it's always worked before, and then it didn't work? Our paint job did not work as expected. So have you ever done something where you've done it before, you thought it was going to be fine, and then it did not work out as expected? Talk about that with your group, and then go ahead and press play when you're ready to continue with the Bible study. So the dresser is a different story. This worked out great. It was exactly as they wanted. They wanted Dr. Seuss, and Tracy repainted it. There were a couple of drawers that were messed up, and so I got to try some woodworking and rebuild a couple of the drawers. This was actually Tracy's dresser when she was a little girl. And so we get to pass this down from generation to generation, but it's repainted, and it is all Dr. Seuss'd up, and it turned out great. When you read about Paul and Silas in this next section, what you're going to find is that they're going to go to Paul is going to go to Berea to escape from the Jews in Thessalonica, and things turn out much better than in Thessalonica. They have a lot more people who are responding, a lot more Jews that become Christians, as well as Greeks that become Christians, and it works out much better. It doesn't last that long because the people in Thessalonica that are against them find out that they're preaching down the road there, and so they come to Berea and they end up chasing them out of town. Paul escapes, though, and he ends up making it out of there, and he goes to the sea coast, and then he ends up going to Athens. And so my question for you is just this to talk about. When have you ever escaped trouble, or have you ever escaped trouble? Have you had where trouble tried to come your way and you were able to get away from it? So look at the question there on the screen or on your paper, and talk about that with your group, and then go ahead and press play when you're ready to continue. It really makes little difference as to whether things went as expected or not for us. The bottom line is that we're here, and we get to be in Grandma and Grandpa mode, and Tracy and I are both really enjoying that and looking forward to enjoying that for a little while here. When this last passage that you're going to read is going to be the most, the longest passage of this discussion, and most importantly, it is going to be a completely different approach that Paul takes to going and making disciples of all nations. As you read it, I just want you to take a moment to notice the difference in approach. He is in Athens. He's going to be talking to people without a Jewish background, no belief that there is only one God who created the heavens and the earth, no acceptance of the Bible being the Word of God. He's starting with an audience that really is just open to different ideas and worships a lot of different gods. What you're going to see as you read there is that he recognizes it. He doesn't bash them. He starts by talking to them about recognizing positive things, that they are religious, that they believe in gods. And then he focuses on a God that they have, not a statue, but a platform for, called the unknown God, and then starts to tell them about that unknown God. And so it's a completely different approach. And there are going to be people who do come to an understanding of Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God, and who are going to give their lives to him as a result of it. It's not going to be as big of a change or as many people, because Paul has to bring them a much further distance, but his approach is effective and it does work. As I'm making this video, obviously I'm not at home. I'm not in Valparaiso. I'm in South Carolina, and I had people who knew I was going to be going on this trip. They ended up asking me questions about who was going to be preaching this Sunday, because that's kind of the standard way of doing things. If the primary teacher is going to be out of town, you go ahead and have somebody else preaching or teaching that particular weekend. And it's nothing against the people that we have that are potential preachers or teachers. We're just trying a different approach. We've tried this a couple of times before. It's worked. It has been effective, and so we're continuing to try this so that you can kind of follow me as I go on this trip. and enjoy feeling, us feeling connected to each other, even though I'm hundreds of miles away. And so we're preaching and teaching via video. I did that on Sunday. If you watch the worship service from Sunday, you're going to see Pete via video. So I made a video, and then they played the video in Valparaiso on Sunday morning, and that's what got recorded. So the music was live, but the teaching was pre-recorded, and it is effective. This is technology that God has available to us today. It is different than what we used to do 20 years ago, 30 years ago, but it is still doing the same thing, which is going and making disciples of all nations. And I just really hope that it is a blessing to you. I know it's a blessing for me to feel connected to you. So read this passage. Talk about when is it okay to change up the way we do ministry, the way we go and make disciples of all nations. When is it effective to do that? Talk about that with your group. Go to a time of prayer, asking God to lead us to be effective in the ministries that God has called us to go and make disciples of all nations. Know that I'm praying for you, even from hundreds of miles away, and I'm thanking God that we are a team, that we are working together. So read this last passage, talk about those questions, pray for one another, and we're done for this session. God bless.